with you yet.
Up we go!
Oh, look at that, it's his little friend. Let's watch her die together, shall we?
No!
It's game over for both of you.
No. Just for me. I'm bad, and that's good. I will never be good, and that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
Why are you going into the law? No, yes, no, yeah, no. Go into the law.
Okay. Good afternoon. It is 1 March 2023. And this is the shit show. I mean, the mandatory carry Q&A session. But since I never have any questions, actually, I have a few, but not enough. We're going to get started anyway, because what the hell? It's my shit show, right? Remove that from studio. Hopefully the video came through this time. And we are still a couple of seconds early. So I'm going to hear about this later. But oh well, I'm okay with that. All right. This week's bad news is that there was a bunch of kids who were shot at a gas station, apparently a Shell station. One of them has died. Kids are not covered under mandatory carry, and I acknowledge that. But I also want to acknowledge that, once again, the only one who had the gun was the bad guy. All right? There was nobody else there other than the gas station attendant, who may or may not have been in a position to do anything about it. Once again, we see disarmed public, disarmed people stand no chance. There was another one, might actually be the same one. Guy shot a bunch of kids and then broke into some lady's house and shot her and her daughter. Killed the daughter. When the cops finally caught up to this individual, one of them kicked him, apparently in the gut or maybe just in the balls. Yeah, everybody's reading about, oh my God, that's excessive use of force and police brutality. Yeah, go police brutalize this. He just shot a bunch of people. All right. And he didn't have a gun. Well, it was found in his waistband. And I want to give, by the way, a big shout out to Donut Operator, because I found it because of his channel, including the video of the, quote, flying leap kick. It didn't look like a flying leap kick to me, but yeah, you know. It was completely justifiable use of force. This guy had just murdered people, or, well, yes, he just murdered a little girl. He tried to murder a bunch of other kids. And yeah, the justifiable force to use here was to shoot him right there in the street. The cop decided to kick him instead. Good. Great. I have no problem with this at all. I would have very, very, very little problem with it if the cop had just shot him right there in the street. It's fine. He had just shot a bunch of people, a home invasion robbery where he ended up murdering a little girl, and you want me to feel sorry for him because the cop kicked him? No. Go fuck yourself. Oh, are we under a minute? I want to make sure we're under. Damn. Well, we're still under 10 minutes. So I think I'm good there. Oh, hi, Apple. All right. That was the bad news for the week. Yes, it happened again. Yes, it will happen again. It will happen a million times. I am just barely old enough to remember the Stockton schoolyard shooting. All right. That will happen again sometime. You know what's going to keep on happening after gun control passes? Mass shootings of every type and description. I want to check something real quick. Nope. Okay. All right. As so many others who have better technical skills than me have unfortunately proven just banning guns isn't going to make them go away. All right. Well, let me rephrase that. Different technical skills than I do have proven that just banning guns isn't going to make them go away. They're not. It will never go away. And as you make the guns harder and harder to acquire, the criminals that intend to use them will simply make them cheaper and cheaper and more crudely if they have to. A straight blowback, automatic only submachine pistol, and they won't care. And then they will terrorize everyone. You think I'm joking, Apple, calling you out specifically. You think I'm joking. The cartels in Brazil build huge gun factories out in the middle of that forest. They make them out of really crude parts, but you know what? Some of those crude submachine guns, submachine pistols, when the Polícia Nacional, the Brazilian National Police, finally busted one of those factories. Correction. It was one more they did. They got like 5 or 10 that year. This particular one that they busted, this one was a little bit closer to the capital of Brazil. All right. I do remember looking afterwards. I found out about this from the Firearms blog. Yeah, TFB. Right. When Polícia Nacional busted this factory, they found tens of thousands. Not just a few dozen, tens of thousands of straight blowback 45 ACP Mac 10 clones. And these were good enough. Most of them had to be destroyed because they were either unfinished or in internal quality control determined that, yeah, these were not suitable for purpose. Right? but about 10% were kept and they re-triggered. The trigger group was replaced to make them semi-auto. I don't know. They might be selective fire. I have no way of knowing. But they did keep them and issue those out to Policia Nacional personnel as off-duty and backup weapons. That's the part that blows my mind. This drug cartel had a factory that was good enough that the guns, once they were redone a little bit, were good enough to issue to cops. That's mind-blowing. And it's becoming the norm. There's another case out of Jalisco? Yes, I believe it was Jalisco, where over 200 completely home-built M16s were acquired. And these were not just the lower receiver, by the way. Apparently, everything that they could get away with making themselves, they tried. Apparently they were trying to make barrels. Now, how complete this factory was, it leaves some things to be asked. But at the end of the day, yeah, that's what they had. And that's just the guns that were in the factory at the time. The Jalisco case. I also want to give a little bit of context to just how simple it really is. This little tienda, that's what it was. All right. It was a little bit bigger than a very, very large self-storage place here in the United States. And not much better equipped. So this little tienda had been a grocery store and a street food vendor market. All right. That's what they were in. We're talking less than 1,000, maybe it was just over 1,000 square feet. And they were making guns in there. Guns far, far better than what the local police had. Of course, that's not saying much, right? Even when they're not corrupt, Mexican police are just totally overwhelmed because basically they're not much more than a welfare worker. Social worker. So, Josh as in Josh Sugarman, I would love for you, specifically you, to tell me how we're going to stop that. But let's move on. All right. So that was the bad news. The good news. But you know what? I got one more piece of bad news. First of all, I want to check something. I'm just seeing if maybe the chat is messed up. But it would appear that it was not messed up. Nah. Okay. All right. Moving right along. I want to actually touch on one more piece of bad news. And Apple, you know what? Okay, Apple, I'm not really calling you out so much as you work for YouTube. You made a choice to work for YouTube. And we both know your bosses are lying. And you're lying with them. Okay, so this is the headline. You know what? I'm going to bring this up. Present. Stop screen. Present. Share screen. Microsoft. This is actually a little exaggerated. China spent years angrily trying to shut down the theory that COVID-19 came from its labs. It failed. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Business Insider. Not that that should be a great and shocking development. FBI director added his support now to it. Well, that's great. The theory was dismissed by some as disinformation during the initial months of the pandemic. There is a particular historian that when he comes on, I actually will change the channel. Andrew, I'm talking about you. I don't even understand how your brain could go so far as to invent that kind of theory. But moving right along. Sorry. FBI Director Christopher Wray on Tuesday lent his support to the claim in an interview on Fox News, saying the virus most likely originated in a Chinese government-controlled lab. That's not terribly interesting. What's terribly interesting for more than one reason. It came days after U.S. Energy Department found a lab leak the most likely source of the disease, although it reached the conclusion with a low level of confidence. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah. Let's come back to that in a second. In response, Beijing accused Washington of political manipulation. It's actually diplomatic manipulation, but whatever, Kim. Not Kim. Z. Okay. I point this out because, and Apple can testify to this, although she won't, that my channel got a full-on strike for having talked about that. This was very early on, right? This is about March, April, May, or June of 2020 that I talked about that. And yet I got a strike. Even China at the time was saying that that was an issue, that they were investigating it, that they didn't know if it came from there. Now, you're here, you know, I continue, despite all of this time, I believe with absolute and total sincerity that it originated in Iran, and it wasn't a leak, it was a deliberate release, probably in Wuhan, but I mean, it could have been somewhere else under slightly different circumstances. It's not the craziest bit of the theory. It is absolutely more important to understand. Apple, you told a lie. Well, you repeated a lie. And Apple, you knew it was a lie. So, Susan, I got a question for you. How many of the people who were unfairly maligned, accused of disinformation, don't lie to me anymore. Don't lie to me anymore, Susan. You say misinformation, and we both know you're accusing us of lying. So don't bother lying to me anymore about that. Start being honest now. You have an opportunity to start being honest. How many people, how many channels did you remove? How many people did you deplatform to protect this lie? And how bad is the lie really? How much do you really know? Right? The truth shall set ye free. The truth shall set you free? Maybe it is you. Not that shit again. The truth shall set you free, Susan. Start being honest with us. Tell us what you really know. Hey, Squatch. Hi. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. It's not disinformation. It's not we're confused and we don't know what we're talking about anymore. This is what happened. DOE says it. The FBI is saying it. CDC has never actually said we've proven that didn't happen. Or if they have, I haven't seen. Hey, Squatch, do me a favor. Go over to Google and see if you can find where CDC said, no, this didn't, COVID did not start in Wuhan. And drop the link in the chat. Could you, bud, please? I'll owe you. If you can find it, that is. I've never found it. It's because we've known it. This was true since the beginning, or at least we thought. Let me rephrase that. You people thought that was true from the beginning. I've known since the beginning. No, it wasn't the lab. It wasn't leaked from the lab. Wuhan was targeted because the lab was there. Maybe China had that virus sitting in some petri dish that they were looking at, but they're sitting there scratching their head. How the hell did it get out of here? We had everything locked up like a tin can. It couldn't have come from here. Well, yeah. It's not because they're not lying. It didn't come out of there. They were targeted first. Just to make sure the whole world knew, oh, this thing is out there and it's bad. It's really bad. And you saw it had to come from Wuhan, right? That's the only place it could have come from. Deliberate and malicious disinformation, just like how the Spanish flu didn't originate in Spain. Little history lesson here. The Spanish flu originated at a U.S. Army cavalry training base, Fort Campbell? Oh, it started with C, but I can't remember. Maybe it was Fort McHenry. Anyway, it started there with burning horse shit early in the morning. And just sort of festered in the background for a few months until it got to Europe. And then it spread quickly. Right? And everybody's trying to say, oh, no, nope, nothing here. We're all good. We're fine here because, of course, the war's going on. They don't want to. The Germans don't want to tell the British and French, we've got a flu pandemic, right? France and Britain don't want to tell Germany, we have a flu outbreak in our trenches, especially. But Spain is neutral. They don't give a shit. You guys can go back to killing each other all you want. It doesn't bother us. And then even they tried to deny that there was a thing going on until the King of Spain got sick. All right, there we go. It should be working again. Well, hopefully that fixed it. Right, until the King of Spain got fixed, and then all of a sudden, yeah, we got a problem. And that's how it got the name the Spanish flu. Didn't originate in Spain, migrated there. Now, how it migrated there is a question I am not qualified to even speculate on. Holy shit, I can't even guess. I don't care either. I really don't. That's how I got the name. That's all I care about. I'm just saying, Apple, if you had been honest, if your bosses had been on, well, I mean, if your bosses had been honest to begin with, so that you could have been honest, but you worked for them of your own free will, right? So you're lying along with them. That's just as much on you when you know it's a lie. Squatch knew it was a lie. The other two viewers who are remaining extremely quiet, one of them's probably Fix. They knew it was a lie. We all knew it was a lie. But you don't want to let us look at it. Why not? On a related note, if you go looking for the first live stream after the election, hey Bernie, if you go looking for my first live stream after the election, you won't find it because I got channel strike for that. What test did you miss? You missed the test of what will happen if we try banning the guns, and it doesn't work. By the way, we failed. We failed the test. That and me trying to get my channel nuked again by calling Apple out. As always, I do this every week. It seems every week. Apple, there's another one of your lies that gets exposed. I'm just saying. Okay. So that was part of the good news. Here's the rest of the good news. Lori Lightfoot has not won her re-election campaign. Shocking. With Chicago's crime rate, violent crime rate, running into the 30%. 1 out of every 3 Chicago residents is the victim of a violent crime. Now, stop and think about that for a very long second. If you live in Chicago, look to your left, look to your right. One of the 3 of you will be the victim of a violent crime. I'm not talking about misdemeanor assault and battery. I'm not even talking about felony assault and battery anymore. This is escalated far and away past that. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. He's right. That's a fucking horrifying. That's beyond scary. 1 in 4 is actually 1 in 4 is terrifying. I'd be leaving town. Hell, I'd leave the whole state at that point. And now Lori Lightfoot has lost her job because of it. Good. She should have a long time ago. Okay. So now I gotta beg you guys to bring me some questions. Questions. Not enough questions. You want a shard here? Oh, sorry, wrong movie. I am actually looking for a question that I cannot answer. Because if I can't answer it, then I probably should find an answer. It means this is the thing that I had not yet considered. Here's a interesting example. It was a question I asked, so it doesn't count. As you know, mandatory carry applies to all citizens, right? What if you have not actually broken any other law and yet you're still a terrorist? Remember, it's not illegal to be a Nazi in the United States. It's not. It's not against the law. Okay. Fine. By the way, in Germany, especially in Italy to a lesser extent, it is actually against law. If you are a declared Nazi or found to have been a Nazi, you go to prison. I think it's 10 years in Germany. Somebody in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I believe it's 10 years. You go to prison, that's it, you're done. In the United States, that's not a law. It's not a crime. Whether you agree or not, I don't care. Now you have people who are known to start trouble. All right. Again, I was living in California when, I can't remember if it was the communists crashed the Nazi rally or the Nazis crashed the communist rally in Sacramento. But I do remember hearing about that. I was a little guy at the time. But I do remember hearing about that. If your declared intention is to cause violence, whether it happens or not, is that not still your fault? I happened to be living in Colorado at the time when Antifa declared a day of action in response to Donnie's election. I was down at the state capitol for about 6 hours, literally looking for these guys. Now, what happens, happens. But I had intended to stay off to the edge and just watch and see them making fools of themselves. It was going to be a great show, right? And then just make sure that the cops can see I'm not part of those guys. If I get gassed, I get gassed. No problem. I'm okay with that. But make sure I keep across the street from those guys. This isn't the first time I've done something like that, by the way. Okay. This isn't the first time I've done something like that. This was just the time I really expected it to be something, to be a show, and watch ringside. as this whole thing blows up? Well, I looked for them for. I was looking for at least 6 hours. I even went by the federal courthouse, the local federal courthouse. Not a word. All right. The closest to finding them I came was a construction crew that happened to be working that day. Must have been a Saturday because everybody was gone. A construction crew that happened to be working that day, they were shouting. Well, yeah, it's a construction site, right? You have to shout to be heard. And two women talking shit about a man that I assume was a mutual acquaintance to them. So, both of their boyfriends. They were talking shit about him, and they were kind of loud and boisterous about it. I got the impression that they didn't like him very much anymore. Maybe it was their pimp. I don't know. I don't care. Either way, okay. Something there is not working the way I want. Bernie, can you drop something in the chat for me? Anything? I don't care. Tell me to go fuck myself or something. I don't care. Either way, I'm checking to see if it's StreamYard or YouTube that's fucking around today. Because normally I can be sitting in StreamYard and... Okay. All right. So apparently it is StreamYard today. Yeah, apparently it is StreamYard. And yes, lag. Oh my God, it's a lag. It's ridiculous. But moving right along. Either way, if you organize an event with the intention of bringing violence, does that not make you responsible for the violence? This is actually a no-brainer. Any jackass can figure this out, but what the hell, why not? Let's play along. After that hunt for Antifa, I realized just how bad these people really are. Now, the rule as written does not care which side of the aisle you are, or at least pretend you are on. And I say that of both the KKK and neo-Nazis and Antifa. They're just two different forms of fascists. That's it. They're both fascists, just two different types. Both groups want themselves and their leadership to rule, but other than that, they're just two sides of the same shit coin. Excuse me, counterfeit coin. Right. So I did nickname it the Antifa exemption, but I wrote it in such a way that it does cover both sides equally. There's no favorites. You're both worthless pieces of shit, and well, you really should find a permanent solution to your temporary problems. And I don't even feel fucking the least fucking bit bad about saying that. It does not bother me at all. Because you know what? It's true. Find a permanent solution to temporary problem. Okay. We're only at 30 minutes and I'm already out. I have a few tabs open here. I'm going to take a look. Oh, yes. All right, so we're going to stop the screen and present a different screen. Share screen. Oh, there it is. All right, first of all, let's make sure it's come through. Good. Insider. Finland has started building a 124-mile fence on its border with Russia. It's going to be covered in barbed wire and span riskier areas between the countries. But Donnie's Wall was a problem, right? That was absolutely such a critical thing. But Finland's building a fence, and that's all Donnie's Wall really was a fence with barbed wire. Okay, we're not talking a little cattle fence like this, people, because that's all that really is. Actually, that probably is a fence intended for keeping cattle on one side of a magical line instead of the other. Finland has started building a 10-foot tall barbed wire fence along parts of its border. Granted, it is parts of the border. With Russia, the 124-mile long fence will cover 1/7 of the 823-mile long border with Russia. All right. Oh, construction started after a marked surge in Russians fleeing the country amid the Ukraine war. Once again, hi, Buckle. Once again, Apple, I would love for you to explain, or one of your buddies, get Susan in here. I would love to have a straight up fight with Susan. Let's get Susan in here. Come on, guys. Let's campaign Susan Wiki to come down here herself and face me. Explain to me how it's okay for Finland to build a obviously much nastier piece of equipment because it's a barbed wire fence, guys. It's a barbed wire fence. Does this not connect in your brain? And it's okay for them because Russians are fleeing violence, are fleeing the Ukraine war. Explain how it's okay for Finland to do this. The U.S. cannot. I'd love to hear that bullshit story. Oh, it's totally... No, it's actually... No. Your elected leaders are doing this. Or are you telling us they're not elected? Be very careful how far down that line you want to go there, Apple. All right, we're going to stop that screen. And one more piece of... How do I put this? For me, this is good news. Because this justifies all of those crazy conspiracy theories about Iran that I've been pushing for the last 3 years. 3 years. Well, actually, it's closer to 5, but I've only been talking about Iran so much since COVID started. So, right? Do. U.S. mainland under threat as Iran pushes assassinations and kidnappings. Oh, you mean exactly the shit I was talking about 5 years ago? Oh, no. Oh, my God. It was more than that. I came out in 2015. 2016. This is 2023. So that would be 7 years ago that I first started talking about 9017. And I mean, what? What does it take? Do they have to actually start shooting people for you to finally believe, hey, maybe carries on to something here? Is that what it's going to take? You tell me. Tell me what it's going to take for you to finally believe me. Amid the report that a top Iranian regime official would have been enough there, Ben. Calm down, Karen. On Friday, urged the murders of the ex-commander of the United States Central Command General Kenneth McKenzie, former President Trump, and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. A new report asserts that Iran is likely behind a kill list targeting law enforcement agencies in Boston. That was very poorly worded there, Benny. You might want to work on that. It's called English. Learn it. But let's just skip on down. Not even, Mr. Okay. General, I'm not going to show you the kind of disrespect to try to say your name. It's just General. Okay? Accept it for what it is. I can't pronounce that. And I'm not going to sound it out one letter at a time. The commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Aerospace, who declared during a television interview last week that, inshallah, God willing, we will be able to kill Donald Trump, Mike Pompeo, former CENTCOM chief Kenneth McKenzie, and others who ordered the killing of Qasem Soleimani. I haven't had to say that word in 3 years. Work with me. The U.S. military killed Soleimani with a drone strike in January 2020 because the U.S. and the EU and U.S. designated terrorist was planning an attack. It was responsible for the murder of over 600 military personnel. Okay, first of all, it says over 600 American military personnel. It was actually combined, but it's over 600, so it's kind of hard to tell where the numbers really stop. Hey, Luke, I did not miss you there. Either way, what is it going to take for you to finally believe me? Iran is a threat. They want us dead. That's it. Okay, we're back. Luckily, you have me a little confused here. They want to try and hide crap from us, but thank God there are still some of us with common sense, like these goddamn China balloons. Which crap are they hiding from us? Okay, this is not crazy conspiracy theory shit. I know I'm on watch lists. At least the one I know I'm on is related to veterans in danger of killing themselves or going postal. Yeah, I know I'm on that watch list because I checked myself in to a VA hospital as possibly suicidal. All right, and you know what? Papa Carey and my doctor at the time, the two that said either you go there on your own or we're going to call cops and have you taken in. I wasn't suicidal, but you know what? They were right. I needed to go take some time away from the real world. And that was good. All right. I wasn't going to do it myself, but you know, it's real easy to have an accident. All right, so now I'm beginning to learn a few things. Oops. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. Let's try that again. Okay. So there we go. Now I know it's actually YouTube that's fucking around because I can see Buckle's comment clear as day. I even highlighted it. And yet it's gone according to YouTube. So moving right along. Tell me what it's, and actually I really want Luke to come back because something funny just happened. Yeah, that would be my question too, Buckle. What the hell just happened? All right. But moving right along. I would love Luke to come back because he knows the people that made the most fun of my theory. I would not call them Luke's friends. Those people have no friends, but he does know them. And Luke, the day you abandon those so-called people, let me know. I will buy you a beer. Moving right along, you tell me what it's finally going to take for you. And I'm actually not. I'm not talking about Buckle. I'm not talking about Luke. I'm not talking about Bernie. Not really talking about Squatch, although I think Squatch has expressed ambivalence about the idea. Parts of it, at least. So you tell me what it's. But you could go to your friends and ask them, what is it going to take for this crazy madman to finally convince you that yes, that's the real. That's the real. You tell me. All right. So I began to remember some things. I used to do a segment on get home bags because that's my big thing, right? I don't know, more than anything else, when this crisis, whether it's a natural disaster, man-made disaster, a little bit of each, right? But when it starts, Carrie, need you to just get home. That's the first thing. Just get you home. Everything else, we can work forward from there. Right? You're a good person. You're a bad person. You're a good person that caught up in a bad situation. You're a bad person that did some good things in a bad situation. Whatever. I don't care. Right? Nobody can be held to account if they're dead. Right? And if they're the legitimate victim, them being dead is not going to help anything either, is it? Above all else, I need you to get home. Right? Okay. So I'm going to try to get back into that. Also, readings from Datislav Act, a section at a time. Unfortunately, I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue where I left off. Now, I know what I did last week. The preamble, right? Everything else, I can't even remember. So, rather than actually read it this week, I'm just going to talk about the overall theme. You get home back, above all else, water. It was just fucking here. I had to move it out of my way. The fuck? See, this isn't actually my get home bag. This is a more way overloaded for a get home bag. It was, I had to move it out of my way. All right, I'm going to invert I'm just going to. Right? This is actually my old boot camp water bottle. I can't believe I still have this thing. This is 20 years old. Have a bottle of water sitting on your desk. Just have it sitting there. And you don't even have to drink from it over the course of the week, although that doesn't hurt you any. Make sure it stays full. And when it's time to leave, and when it's time to leave. Grab your water bottle and go home. Man, there you go. Mike 155. The rest of it is not actually important. Oh, the rest of it's my name. Okay. Have the water bottle at your desk. Make sure it's full every day. At the start of the day. At the end of the day or at the end of the week, whatever. Dump it. Don't drink water that's been sitting there over a weekend. All right? You might not necessarily like it. It's probably fine. All right? But yeah, it's going to be stale. And after that happens a few times, it's going to be really nasty. So just dump it out on Friday if it gets to that. Use it for making coffee or whatever. Doesn't matter. Just pour it down the toilet. I don't give a shit. Doesn't make a difference. Leave it there over the weekend. Worst case scenario, your bottle's still there. Now, I don't take that one to work. It's part of this display model set now because actually I don't want to risk losing that one. That one's special. All right, I'm a sentimentalist. Instead, I have 1 gallon bottle of water that I replace every week at work. All right. It sits there at my station and just sort of collects dust. And I can grab it in about 3 seconds and run out the door. Over the course of this last week, Northern California had some really, really bad blizzards. Funny story. But it's not funny, haha. Papa Carey was telling me that he happened to be in town getting a haircut. It was Tuesday, so it couldn't have been a haircut. He does his haircuts on Wednesday. Anyway, whatever it was, he was in town on Tuesday. When he drove into town, and this is, good. Well, it's about a half an hour drive. It's a little over a half hour drive from his place to town. Right? When he left the house, everything was fine. When he got into town, it suddenly started snowing. And it started snowing so hard that he actually had to turn back long before he got home. And in fact, before apparently he got to the dump, that was my impression. Well, no, it's not my impression. He said, I didn't even make it to the dump, right? Before he had to turn around. So I'm thinking, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter where he turned around. He had to turn around and go back into town. Now, imagine he'd been at work and it started snowing like that, right? And now he's trapped at work overnight. Stranger things than that have happened. All right. There was a Walmart in Indiana, I believe it was. There was tornado warnings, or was it tornado alerts? Whatever. Anyway, they were warned tornadoes could be forming. The employee said, "Hey, there's a potential for tornadoes. Can we go home?" And their supervisor said, "No, if you leave, you will be fired." A half an hour later, a tornado ripped through that building, killed a couple dozen people. Oh, situations like that make the world a whole lot less safe. Now, tornadoes form so quickly and hit so hard, all right, that it could have happened without the warning. Oh, dear me. I forgot. I forgot to stop screen, apparently, because share screen, Microsoft Edge tab. There we go. Okay, there we go. Ew. That's not on it. Let's try that again. Drop an F in chat if you're not jerking off. Oh, sorry. Okay. Jesus Christ. I hate glasses because they're impossible to keep clean. Or I hate my glasses anyways. Either way. Right. Water. Plan around that you might be out overnight. You might be stuck somewhere overnight. Alternative and interesting scenario is, what if Dad had been unable to get back into town? He'd have been stuck on the side of the road in his car overnight. That has happened. I used another case as an example. A couple 100 people were trapped on a major freeway because the road was closed. Now, I have some things to say about why these people were trapped on this freeway overnight. All right. Put this very simply. There's no reason they couldn't have turned everybody around. It happened to me once. I was coming home from, hey, Ozzy. It's not quite morning anymore, but okay. Oh, yeah, keep the wife happy, Squatch. I understand. Believe me. Moving right along. I was going home from a drill. Freeway was closed. It's even said you can keep going if you have four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive. They could see I was in uniform, right? So they had me turn back onto the freeway going with the flow of traffic through one of those emergency and construction vehicle only passages. I believe that's what they're marked. You guys know what I'm talking about. Those signs that says emergency vehicles only, right? Well, it's not just for emergency vehicles, but that's not the point here. I had us turn around. I went back into Portland, and I had to stay there overnight. And because I didn't have money to stay at a hotel, guess where I got to stay? Yeah. And I was not alone. Actually, it's worse than that. The active duty guys had come back, so they had all the racks. So we had to set up what we could in the main station. Oh, that night sucked. Either way, you might be trapped somewhere overnight. You might just be trapped in your car overnight. It's better to have a plan to make it through than it is to not have a plan. Ozzy says, we have such pass-throughs on our city's ring roads. Okay. What's a ring road? It's not often I get to ask a question. Of course, not often anybody else will question around here. But anyway, I'm going to assume that that's a business route, maybe. My God, I hope it doesn't mean nice to own a car. Yeah, actually it is. I hope it doesn't mean roundabout there, Ozzy, because roundabouts are dangerous. Okay. In the U.S., we call these business routes. Sacramento's was I-80 to Cap City to I-5. Ironically enough, Chicago, which I was ranting about a few minutes ago, has, I think, 3 of them because the city got too big for the original business route. Anyway, moving right along. Have water, have some sort of meal for overnight, so some sort of subsistence. Now, first of all, it's time to start mocking the cover-up, guys, because you know I do that. Yeah. Stop screen. This is an example. This one is expired. This expired October of 2021. Ooh, I'm afraid to open it now. But these are awesome. And by the way, they actually did do the thing that they said. They don't cause thirst. Share screen. Microsoft Edge. Put that back up. Have one of these in your car, at your desk, something. It doesn't even have to be a big one like this. They have a power bar sized version. Huh. Must be a government project. Okay. But either way, have something, some sort of emergency food supply. You know what? If you can have it in a bag that you could literally carry around with you everywhere, do that too. All right. Something else I'm going to say, and you do with this information what you will. I was on Discord. I was on a Discord channel, and they were talking about how one of the people in this channel was talking about how his employer does not allow him to carry. How do I put this politely? I don't. That's how. One of my employers does not allow me to carry either. You know what? Fuck y'all. It was a security company. Right when I first started the channel, started the live streams. Remember that I had a security jacket and I would cover up the patch on my shoulder, take the badge off so you couldn't see who I worked for. And if you knew what you were looking at, you knew who I worked for anyways, because a couple of people have told me, oh, you work for? Yeah. Excuse me. Right. Either way, that particular employer does not allow their officers to carry any weapons on duty. I was partly fired for that because I had pepper spray on me. Right next to a lot. Oh, excuse me. With what sounded like a million fucking coyotes. But anyway, I also carried my gun on me the entire time I was there. I carried it in such a way that nobody really knew what it was. They knew I had pepper spray. To be perfectly blunt, nobody gives a shit about pepper spray unless it's an excuse to fire you. And oh, wow, big surprise. I was there for a year before somebody suddenly remembered. All right, I got to catch up with the chat. Yeah, I'm going to X to doubt that. Marked not for human consumption, but they're field rats from Desert Storm. Yeah, not buying that. All right, there is a big move for tactical retail guards, vests, gloves, boots, cuffs. No weapons allowed. I don't think you quite understand, Ozzy. They didn't allow handcuffs. They didn't allow vests. They only allowed gloves for inclement weather, and boots. They didn't care one way or the other about. Well, Squatch is behind you on the field rations thing. So there is that. They were field rations for the military, but they're marked not for human consumption. Does that even make sense, guys? Think about it for a very long second. Military field rations that are marked not for human consumption. Now, unless there's something here I'm missing. And Ozzy is confusing Maricopa jails lunches with for-profit prisons. Yeah, no, that thing about the bologna sandwich juice box. They got an apple and a cookie. Yeah, that was the lunch. Even Sheriff Arpaio knew there was only so far he could get away with. That's not the only meal of the day. Being tight-paced. Squash, we're going to talk about that later. All right. Either way, have your get home bag ready because Microsoft Edge tab. Iran has literally declared their intention to assassinate people. How hard is this to understand? Explain it to me. Use small words. Fucking. Let's move that. Stop screen. Present. Share screen. There. Okay. Interesting question. We should talk about that at a different time. As for this, Hillary wants Putin dead. A lot of people do. And you know what? So did Donnie. That's the truth, guys. All right, let me rephrase that. Donnie was not the least bit afraid of Putin. You want a war? Let's do it. And Vlad knew that Donnie wasn't afraid. All right. Hillary and Barack, right, they were afraid of Vlad. The former president, Jimmy Carter, who is in hospice, last I heard, and may have passed away by now, was afraid of Khrushchev. Yeah, I believe it was Khrushchev. So Khrushchev thought he could get away with anything. Vlad thinks he can get away with anything because he knows that everybody's afraid of him. He knew Donnie was the least bit afraid of him. So fuck you, I want that fight. And that's why Vlad backed down for those years. Ozzy, email me immediately after the stream or email me down. No, I don't care. All right. we'll talk about that. Moving right along. In the meantime, we got 45 minutes. Probably going to wrap this a little on the early side, guys, because, well, to be perfectly blunt, I don't have enough to talk about for 2 hours without digging into some new subjects that are probably more appropriate for mandatory care, beyond mandatory carry. Hey, Macy, you're late. But that's true. When you're right on the facts and wrong on the law, pound on the facts. When you're right on the law but wrong on the facts, pound on the law. When you're wrong on the facts and wrong on the law, pound on the table. Whether Nikita Khrushchev actually said that or not, I don't know. But yeah. That was definitely his MO. And you're fine, Buckle. You're fine. Boy, I hope I didn't just take that away. Yeah. Oh, damn it. Sorry, guys. You're right. Was going to do the 10,000 foot overview of mandatory carry, specifically the Dataslav half. Okay, first of all, this whole thing started with a proposal to repeal and replace the Second Amendment. It was that was my proposal. Repeal it and replace it with the duty of the people to keep and bear arms shall be enforced. Now, enforced is a pretty big word. It has a lot of, it has a very wide range. Do you fine them? Do you publicly shame them? Do you put them in prison for the rest of their life? What does enforcement mean? Well, we would figure that out as we went along, I suppose. You know what? I, realizing that, I should start by prefacing this. I said the words out loud, and I started a group on Facebook to discuss the notion. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of inviting anti-gun zealots of the absolutely worst kind into this group because my thought process. Squatch, stop laughing. My thought process was they're going to be subject to this as well. So let's at least try to get their ideas and find something that's acceptable to everybody at every possible level. Well, that did not work out at all. That was a big, fat, fucking disaster. Holy shit, did I fuck that idea up. Okay. I own it. I should never have invited her because all she did was turn around and invite a bunch of her trolling buddies. One of which made a very bizarre accusation that I had threatened then President Obama. Really, Troy? Like that's how big an impression this guy. I still remember his name. Well, his first name anyway. But at any rate, eventually I walked away from that and started writing Dataslav. Well, the new Second Amendment. And I started really quickly getting the hint that if I wanted this idea to be expressed with anything other than a complete fucking retard, I better do it myself. All right. Oh, that's right. Vic's Bayonets used to follow Liberty Doll. until Dolly accused Fix of being a terrorist. But anyway, I remember I was there that day. Just happened to be watching. Yay! Right. I got distracted by something in the chat. Sorry. I started working up the Enabling Act. And the first Enabling Act script, the very first version, was a literal copy and paste of the Kennesaw, Georgia city ordinance. I really quickly realized this thing is getting too complicated. Can't work from this anymore. I scrapped everything and started over again. Right? But before I started over again, I actually put some thoughts together. Like, I knew there's certain people who should not be required to carry under any circumstances at all. Right? The Kennesaw ordinance had that too. There was, at that time, I think 2 exemptions. Now there's 3 due to a court ruling. So, okay, let's make the exemptions. And then I realized the exemptions weren't quite appropriate to all situations in all cases. Okay, let's split them up. Let's make these the mandatory exemptions. The ones where the state absolutely, without question, must grant this person an exemption because there's something fundamentally wrong with their ability to do this, right? Physical disability, mental disability, psychological impairment, okay, felons, okay. I had, oh shit, what were the other 2? I used to be able to recite these from memory. All right, anyway, those were the mandatory exemptions. These are the people that, no matter what, don't carry. Just don't, please, for the sake of everybody around you, please don't carry. Or not please, just don't do it. And then there would be the conditional exemptions. People that for 12, 24, 48 maybe hours should be allowed the grace to say, no, I don't think I should carry right now. And you know what? With the grace of God, go. Right now, I would qualify as conditional exemption. Intoxicated. I've been drinking this whole fucking stream and then some. This isn't my first beer this stream. This is my second one. And I started drinking over an hour before the stream started. I was just pounding them. I just finished my first 6-pack. Does that give you an idea how hard I've been going? The other conditional exemption. Forgot what it was off the top of my head. Man, this is not good. All right. And then the elective exemptions. Now there are, this one I do remember clearly. There are only 2 elective exemptions. These are people who are saying, fuck you, I'm not doing it. End of discussion. Put me in jail if you have to, but I'm not doing it. Well, okay. The first one was conscientious objectors. You know what? I would never ask you to do something that you feel violates your conscience. That's not right. I cannot ask you to do something. God, it's kind of cold in here. Sorry. I cannot ask you to do something that you think would get you sent to hell. So, conscientious objectors suddenly became a thing. Now, flag on the plate. Conscientious objectors may not be completely exempt. You go in front of the judge, you say, Your Honor, it is against my conscience to kill people. It's one thing to hit them. It's one thing to, break their face, which would kill them, but that's not the point here. It's one thing to beat the holy flying fuck out of them, but to kill them, I can't do that, Your Honor. It's okay. Grace of God. You are exempt. But you know what? The law gives me latitude. And I'm telling you, I am ordering you as the judge to carry pepper spray. Well, Your Honor, that's a deadly... No, it's not. No, it's not. Now, there are people out there, my ex-uncle-in-law, who are simply incapable of violence of any sort, right? There's a word for people like that, and it's not a very eloquent word. It's not appropriate for mixed company, right? Sort of word I would use in a heartbeat normally. I'm not quite that drunk and mad yet. It's okay. I'll go easy on my former uncle-in-law, but anyway, totally exempt. Okay, you're just not even capable of defending your own life. Squatch, I'm going to pick on you for a second. I'm going to just call you my ex-uncle-in-law. Mr. Sasquatch, you're not capable of defending your own life? No, Your Honor, I am not. Well, okay then. You are totally exempt. The grace of God, go. But hey, but there is a but in there, isn't there? That same judge can also say, and I am ordering that you do not have anything on your person that can be identified as a weapon by an officer, by a police officer. And if you get caught with so much as an oversized key ring, you're going to be back here explaining yourself. Now, let's assume for the sake of argument that Caucasian Sasquatch is a five-star chef. Uh-oh. He may have just given up his job because he tried to game the system. And, okay, there we go. Oh, he tried to game the system to get out of obeying the law, and the judge saw through it. Oh, boy. No, I don't want to show that. Motherfucker. There we go. The other one is just elective exemption. It's somebody who is saying, fuck you. I'm not doing it. I'm a malcontent. I'm probably mentally ill. You can't make that case, or I can't prove I'm mentally ill, or whatever. And I'm just not going to do it. It's okay. You know what? Fine. We are not going to play this game with you. Pay a fee, and you're now exempt. It is a very, very heavy fee. It is meant to be heavy. I wish there was somebody else who was there at the beginning when it was Sarge. I really wish he hadn't blocked me on Facebook because I'd love to have him in here. But he would argue and argue and argue that the elective exemption should be basically free. No, it should not be free. It shouldn't even be cheap. It should be very, very expensive and difficult and obnoxious, because making it cheaper than obeying the law means people will just pay for an exemption to get out of it. Now what? Now it's just a tax. It's a tax by a different name. It's cheaper to pay the fee than it is to pay the law. Totally defeats the purpose. And it becomes a tax. That didn't work for me. On the other hand, paying the fee and getting the exemption, elective exemption, is a whole lot cheaper than getting caught breaking the law. I'm just saying. I also remember enforced. How do you enforce this? I actually wrote a set of enforcement which has a certain degree of flexibility. You get caught once, yeah, it's a fine. Get caught twice, it's a bigger fine. Caught a third time, it's fine and jail time. But it's only 1 year and 364 days. 2 years is a felony. 1 year and 364 days is a misdemeanor. It's county jail. The idea here is somebody somewhere will try to break the law as many times as he can so that he can be found guilty of a felony, and now he's exempt. Remember, felonies exempt. I didn't want to give people an easy out by just committing a felony. You want to go commit a felony? Go commit a felony. Go actually commit a felony. Otherwise, no. You're not going to felony out by literally breaking the very law that you're trying to get out of obeying to begin with. Okay, Ozzy says, or the blind man's cane. I assume he means to the nature of weapons, or to the nature of exemptions. Being blind is a medical disability, and physical disability, and physical disability, although being blind is not one of the ones I really thought of, is an automatic mandatory exemption. The ones I usually think of are epilepsy, because Mama Carrie had it. There's a certain Australian who has it. And mandatory carry himself is saying, even if you have epilepsy, even if you have auras and you know they're coming, I would rather give you an exemption and say, no, with the grace of God, go. You don't start sinning now. You're exempt. Don't worry about it. We might make your exemption limited. Like, you still carry pepper spray, or everybody knows how much I love brass knuckles or something else, but gun? No. Because somebody might take your gun from you while you're having a seizure. Your gun might conceivably accidentally go off while you're having a seizure. A lot of things might happen while you're having a seizure. The grace of God, go. And don't start sinning now. You're exempt. Right. Funny thing about elective exemptions, specifically true elective exemption, the one you paid to qualify for. Show me any state union where you can pay a fee to get out of a requirement in society. Something you have to do. You can't pay somebody else to take your children and be their parents. That doesn't exist. You can't pay a fee to not wear a seatbelt. You can't pay a fee to be drunk in public or to drink and drive. It doesn't exist. Or if you know what, if you can find it, show it to me. The closest thing to paying a fee for somebody to drink and drive was a NASCAR driver back in the 80s was paid to drive drunk. Flag on the play. He was not paid. Well, he was paid to drive drunk. right? But he was paid to drive drunk after having driven sober to demonstrate how drinking and driving affects your ability, how drinking affects your ability to drive. He didn't drive himself home, right? They had a taxi sitting there waiting for him behind the camera, well, so he says. You're right. By the way, he also had a couple cops there to breathalyze him to verify that he was, in fact, as drunk as he claimed to be was, which was about 1/3 of what I've had now, and I wouldn't let me drive at this point. Macy, take it easy, bro. I wish I had Squatch in here right now, because now I have to read this out loud. I don't have somebody to read it for me, so I have to do it myself. A blind man was arrested for carrying a weapon. It was a blind cane folded up in his back pocket. Okay. I'm going to try to not be mad. It's not easy. Cops do not respond well to cameras. I was not a police officer, and I don't respond well to cameras. And I believe this is true. Mythbusters tested alcohol versus tired and impaired driving, and they came out roughly the same. But it was also a measure of 2 beers versus how tired are you. Hi, Michelle, even though you're covered. Sorry. So yeah, actually, Ozzy, I have to take that back a little bit. I cannot look you in the eye and say that Mythbusters did it, but a half a dozen others have over the years. And usually, if you've gone like 24 hours without sleep, it's roughly the equivalent of 2 beers. And after that, you like 3 beers, you're 4 beers are 5 beers are somewhere around 12 beers is when you go. But if you can drink 12 beers in a short enough time span to be as bad as 48 hours without sleep, well, God bless you. Ozzy swears he's seen the episode. You know what, folks? I cannot look Ozzy in the eye and say he's lying. I want to say I remember something about that. I wish I remembered. I wish I knew what I remembered. Then I could say, oh, yes, that was Jamie behind the wheel. And I can't do that. But I could swear he's right. I really could. And you know what? Oh, this is a good one. This is an excellent example of a physical disability exemption. Having driven pre-diabetes diagnosis is very dangerous. Well, yeah, okay, and diabetes is also a very dangerous. B, can impair your judgments. Right? So you have diabetes and it's not well managed. Okay, I'm going to do a rant about this in a minute if somebody reminds me. And it's not well managed in the case of type 2. Or, yeah, I mean, you can't manage type 1 diabetes, but, yeah, that would be an exemption I would be willing to testify to. Baby girl Carrie has diabetes, type 1. That's where your body has attacked itself for reasons they don't quite understand yet. So if her diabetes isn't very, very well managed, like to the point where I spent 2 days awake I spent the whole night awake fighting a low. And she was a really good girl about it. She ate those chewies even though she was really tired. Baby girl, no. With the grace of God, go and don't start sinning now. All right. I'm going to point this out real quick. I would if it they would the DUI has no exemption for alcohol impairment on private property. It depends on if it's felony or misdemeanor, because the story from the 80s that I was referring to, he was on private property and he was beyond legal limits. And I'm going to rant on this for a second. Okay. Armed Wiccans don't get massacred. Armed faggots don't get massacred. Armed blacks don't get massacred. There it is. Armed Jews. I almost dropped a K-bomb there, people. Barely caught it in time. Don't get massacred. What does every massacre have in front of it? A disarmed people. Because they will fucking shoot back. They may panic shoot. They may panic fire. But they will fucking shoot back each and every time. Oh, by the way, the Salem witch trials was an example of some sort of sick mockery of justice. Yeah, fuck all y'all. My first wife was of no particular religion. Her religion was more of methamphetamine. My second wife is a Wiccan. I knew she was. Matter of fact, I probably still have it here somewhere. Oh, bloody motherfucker. Okay, you know what? You'll just have to believe me when I say that I have a picture, not a mem, a picture sitting in my computer somewhere of a woman in a green dress, riding a broom, with the caption, "Get a taste of religion, lick a witch." And oh yeah, by the way, I very much licked that witch. Yeah, pretty disgusting person. Yeah. I licked the witch, and I enjoyed it. And I don't mean her face. Okay. Listen, I invite all of you, anybody, anywhere, and Squatch will laugh as I say this. If he's paying that kind of attention, because he's said he's dealing with the wife. Find me anywhere that Dadislav has an exemption for religion. Oh, he has no specific religion, nationality. Hold on to that thought for a second. Sex, orientation, race. What were the other ones? Immigration status. Haha. Yeah. None of those are exemptions. Nationality is not even an exemption, right? And yet, you're a Chinese citizen. You come to the U.S. on work-related thing or business-related thing, or you're a diplomat, Chinese diplomat sent to the United States. You come to the U.S., you walk off of the Chinese embassy. The way Dadislav is actually written, you have to carry. The moment you step across that gate, you have to have a gun on you. Whoa. Think about that for a long second. Now, flag on the plate. Yes, I know I said that that's the strict way it's written. I also know that no cop is going to write that ticket. No judge is going to honor the ticket for the cop that was stupid enough to write that. But theoretically, let's say the cop does write it. Or, well, correction. Theoretically, that Chinese diplomat's spouse steps across the gate right into the arms of San Francisco Police Department. It's not the embassy. It's one of the missions, which is a step below an embassy. Right into the arms of the San Francisco Police Department, who write her the ticket right then and there. Here you go. Or worse still, she steps across the gate and she does have a gun on her. And she does not get a ticket. But then she has to step back into the embassy at some point. And the Chinese government says, if you carry a gun, even in the United States, you will go to prison. Do you, for a moment, think that this makes sense? So, yes, I acknowledge that there will be an exemption for foreign nationals under some sort of circumstance. I'm not willing to write it. I'm not willing to open that door. Oh, yes, Ozzy, I know. Okay. Ozzy asks, did you hear about the mass shooting in Georgia 2 weeks ago? I believe you're talking about the Shell station. Yes, I started about that at the start of the stream. Sorry, that's a little outside of mandatory carry. Also a little outside of mandatory carry, guys. Sorry. No, I'm not happy about it. But it is a little outside of my narrow field. I might have that one. Downloads. Oh, here we go. Mode to MC. No, it was a PNG. Maybe it was a JPEG. God damn it! What the hell is that guy's name? Oh, Peter. Yeah. Damn. And one more thing. I'm gonna try one more thing. This is the part where Squatch starts laughing. Oh, okay. Gotta had that on my computer. Yeah. Damn. All right. Well, I'll find it and upload it into community tab. But there was a gentleman who spoke on the subject some years ago in an eloquent and intelligent fashion, which is amazing because the guy's a moron. My best memory of what he said was, never trust a scientist speaking outside their narrow field. Scientists are people too, just as prone to causes just or frivolous as the rest of our species. Those are a little outside my narrow field, guys. I'm sorry. All right, guys. Yeah, I'm going to start wrapping it up here. I really, and I know there's still 4 of you out there, so don't even bother. I really do these streams to get questions. I want the questions. Have you ever heard a public policy advocate saying, please question me, please try and break me, please ask a question I can't answer? All right? Nobody has ever done that. Even let you in on a little bit of a secret. Ozzy, not a word out of you about this. Normally, throughout the Bible, throughout history, God said, don't you judge me. Don't you question me. I'm God. Just like your parents would say, don't you question me. I'm your father. I'm your mother. Whatever. Don't you question me. I'm the boss. Have you ever heard somebody say, please, for God's sakes, question me? Because you see that only once that I know of in the Bible. It's where God turns to, I think it was Moses, and says, if you lay tithings when times of want are at hand, check my larders. Check my larders? That doesn't sound right. And see if they are not full. Yeah, you had a point there. Well, I'm doing that. Only a little bit different. Ask me questions. And if you can break me, I will love you forever. If you can ask me a question that I cannot answer, I will fucking love you forever. I will find an answer and I will nickname it in your honor. Ozzy, you've been talking to Papa Kerry again? Something he says like on a daily basis. Squatch, have fun. Don't drink one for me because you'll be driving. I'm going to wrap it up with that, guys. Please, 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 please bring me questions. Do you need a copy of Dataslav? I'd be happy. This is not sarcasm, guys. I'd be happy to send you a copy. Don't threaten me with what I want. All right. I want questions, please, for God's sakes. Bring them. All right. I'm going to wrap it up with that. Ladies and gentlemen, put your get home bag together. You're going to need it sooner or later. Even if I'm wrong about Iran. No, I'm not going to see Cocaine Bear. I'm not going to. Even if I'm wrong about Iran, the chances that you will need it is 75%. The chances you will not is only 25. I continue to believe that Iran created the coronavirus and deliberately unleashed it on the world with malice aforethought. 9017 is still coming. Well, no. 9017 is here. It just kind of morphed in a way that I never saw coming. I was discounting for over a year because no, that's not the way it works. Yeah, I was wrong. And keep fighting, keep calm, and mandatory carry on. Good night, folks.